No one is born courageous. However, we can't afford to live in fear forever. One of the best ways to find success in our lives and businesses is by living a courageous life, because we can't sit back and watch fear dictate what we should do, when we should do them, and how we should do them. Fear will always deprive us of the opportunity to get what we deserve and what we want, and we must not let that happen. You may probably be thinking that, it's easier said than done, but the fact remains that it's very possible to live a courageous life and live a life that's void of fear. Of course, it's human to be fearful, but with fear also comes a decision to be calm and courageous. For us to live the life we want, we must learn to banish fear from our lives. The truth of the matter is, we all have our moments of fear, and we all fear for different reasons. For example, while someone may be afraid of introducing himself or herself to someone he or she admires, someone else may be scared to borrow money to grow his or her business, and another person may be scared to confront someone. It's an accepted fact that we all experience fear from time to time. However, most of us don't recognize the opportunities our moments of fear give, because they can serve to expand our lives with the priceless inner courageous force that they help us develop through the unique opportunity they give. Dale Carnegie, a popular positive thinker, once said that the quickest way to conquer fear is by doing the things you fear. Aristotle, on the other hand, further brushed up this saying with one of his quotes that mentioned that courage gives room for the possibilities of other virtues, because it's the first of human virtues. The question that will probably be lingering now in your mind is, how do I truly convert my fear into courage? You actually need not worry over that any longer, because this video course is purported to outline the steps you can follow to banish fear and live the life you want. It takes you on an adventurous journey to know how to grow your self-esteem and self-confidence, tame your inner critic, and silence negativity. You will feel and become more courageous and turn your biggest dreams into a reality. So, fasten your seatbelt as we enjoy the ride together. In this video, we'll talk about fear, definition, symptoms, and causes. What is fear? Whether a danger is psychological or physical, fear helps to notify us of the threat of harm or presence of danger. Fear involves a high individual emotional response and a universal biochemical response. Fear is a primitive, powerful, and natural human emotion. While fear can be an indication of mental health conditions such as post-traumatic stress disorder, phobias, social anxiety disorder, and panic disorder, it can as well originate from imagined dangers, but it often stems from real threats. However, take note that fear that's highly personalized is stemming from an emotional response. And on the other hand, our body as well responds in specific ways when we face a perceived threat. This is a biochemical reaction. Fear is a survival mechanism and a natural emotion. And high adrenaline levels, increased heart rate, and sweating are some of the physical reactions to fear. Symptoms. As earlier mentioned, you can react emotionally or physically, or even both, to fear. While it's possible we all may react to fear in different ways, here are some common symptoms of fear: upset stomach, trembling, sweating, shortness of breath, rapid heartbeat, nausea, dry mouth, chills, chest pain. Some people also have the tendency of experiencing psychological symptoms of having a sense of impending death, feeling out of control, being upset, or being overwhelmed. Causes. Fear is more complex than how most people see it. While some people may trivialize fear and say it's for the weak, even the strongest person on the planet has his or her own fears. Think of the strongest wrestler or boxer in the world. Would you think such a person would have fears? Apparently, what we fear is different, and what makes someone fearful can be more complex or less complex compared to another person. Nevertheless, here are some of the common fear triggers: the unknown, uncertainty, real environmental dangers, imagined events, future events, situations or some specific objects, flying, heights, crowd, roaches, snakes, spiders, etc. Take note that certain fears can be related to associations or traumatic experiences. Others that aid in survival can be evolutionarily influenced because they tend to be innate. Types. Characterized by fear, here are some of the distinct kinds of anxiety disorders: social anxiety disorder, specific phobia, social anxiety disorder, separation anxiety disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, panic disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, agoraphobia. Why you must overcome fear. The kinds of fear most people have only exist in their head. And some of these fears include fear of being hurt, fear of being alone, fear of growing old, fear of humiliation, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of changes, fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of losing out, fear of authority, fear of strangers, fear of people, fear of public speaking, and the list goes on and on. Do you look at your future and you feel feverish immediately because you're not sure of what tomorrow holds? Do you get intimidated easily, or you're often filled with fear? If you feel you're less of a courageous person, here are some reasons why you must brace up yourself to overcome your fears. Number 1. Fear limits your full potential. Fear makes it difficult for you to grow and progress in life. When you're driven by fear, living your best life and becoming a better person becomes very Herculean, and you'll find it very challenging to believe in personal growth. Reaching the higher levels of consciousness is impossible if we keep entrenching ourselves off in the land of fear. For us to rise to the higher levels of enlightenment, peace, joy, love, and acceptance, we must not be mired in fear. Most of us have the propensity of constantly vibrating at the level of fear, and this is one of the major problems in our today's society. For us to reach our full potential, we must not let our life become a byproduct of fear, because we'll be reduced to a slave of fear if fear is the only thing that drives our decisions, feelings, and thoughts. Understand that reaching your fullest potential is impossible if you keep on reacting to fear. Number 2. You can never fully run away from fear. How long can you run away from your fear? Think of it yourself. Since you've been running, what has it done for you? Has it helped you to get rid of the fear completely, or does it complicate it more? Running will only make you feel secure, but you'll always be haunted by your fear in everything you do if you refuse to deal with it and let it permeate. Mental fear is pervasive. It's impossible for you to fully run away from fear, even though it may not be obvious. Know that fear will always try to catch up with you more when you keep running, and there comes a time when it will corner you, and you'll have no means to escape. And when this eventually happens, you'll have two options alone. Brace up yourself to face your fear, or shiver thoroughly. Thus, you would see that it's quite pertinent that you learn to overcome fear now, because avoidance is not the best solution, and it can never be. Regardless of whatever your fear is, tell yourself that now is the time to deal with it. Number 3, fear is a waste of your energy. When you succumb to fear, you're investing your energy into something non-constructive. Instead of you brainstorming, identifying solutions, mapping out a way forward, and calmly processing the situation, fear consumes your physical and mental energy and it draws you back. Although fear in some cases can be a motivating factor to do more and perform better, especially for adrenaline seekers, it can as well be a waste of emotional and mental energy. Number 4, fear is all in your mind. It's funny that fear is harmless, even though it often seems scary and looks frightful. The danger made up in your mind is what mental fear is based on. A good example of this is the fear of speaking in public, and this is something a lot of people suffer from. Do you even think of why people are so scared of public speaking? In the real sense, you'll not experience any harm in your physical body when you speak publicly. However, you'll get to realize that this fear is stemming from you thinking that you may be embarrassed. You may mess up, you may be judged, or you may slip up. You see, all these fears, they're all in your mind. Whether you think the audience will not be interested to hear your speech, you feel the presentation will go wrong, you may forget your speech, or whatever it is you may be thinking of, it's all made up because they're yet to happen. There's even no guarantee that any of these things will happen in the future, even if they've already happened at a time before now. Whatever outcomes you desire, it's up to you to make it happen. The future is yet to happen. You're in the present. Relax, and do well to make it count. In this video, we'll discover about 5 things you probably never knew about fear. For you to learn how to conquer your fear and turn your fear into courage, you must understand the science of fear. And this is what leads us to the 5 things you probably never knew about fear. Have you ever wondered why some people avoid fear, while horror movie buffs and roller coaster fans thrive on fear for pleasure? Here are a few things to keep in your mind about fear. Fear is physical. Well, you'll already have understood this by now, since it was already mentioned earlier that fear can be a biochemical reaction, triggering a strong physical reaction in your body. Fear is as well experienced in your mind. Once you recognize fear, your body starts reacting. There will be changes in your blood flow. You'll start breathing faster. Your heart rate and blood pressure will increase. Stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol will be released, and your nervous system will get alerted as your amygdala goes to work. Your body as well prepares for fight or flight, as you'll find it easy to run for your life, or start throwing punches due to the changes in blood flow. Fear can make you foggy. Yes, fear can make you foggy. In case you're not sure about what the word foggy means, this simply means to be befuddled or confused. If you're a movie buff, you'd have a clear idea of what this is about. For example, let's say a guy is getting cozy with his girlfriend, and three armed persons force their way in. If that guy is captivated by fear, you'd see how confused or perplexed he would be. At that point, he won't be able to think clearly, and he'll be so melted that his decision-making skills will suffer. When fear happens, there are some parts of the brain that stop working, and there are also some parts that become very active. When fear sets in your body, the brain's area that's responsible for judgment and reasoning, the cerebral cortex, suffers an impairment. Fear can become pleasure. Do you ever wonder why many love it when they get caught up in stressful, fearful moments? People who are a great fan of horror movies, haunted houses, and roller coasters thrive on fear to derive pleasure. And for them, the excitement doesn't come just during the activity, but when it has ended because their brain and body stay aroused as the excitation transfer process occurs. Pleasure is elicited as more of a chemical called dopamine gets produced during a staged fear experience. Fear is not phobia. Many tend to misconstrue fear with phobia, not knowing that these two are clearly different. For instance, you may be experiencing more than just fear if the thought of basking on the beach makes you powerless, traumatized, and terrorized. On the other hand, you may just want to avoid swimming in the ocean because of a movie you just watched. Simply put, phobia is a more complex version of fear. Fear is milder than a phobia. You may have a phobia if you see yourself taking serious measures to avoid rats, roaches, people, spiders, elevators, or water. When you find it Herculean to maintain a consistent quality of life, and your ability to function is being interfered with, this is when fear becomes a phobia. Fears are how you commonly react to objects or events. Fear keeps you safe. Yeah, that was clearly written. Fear does keep you safe. Unlike what you might have thought, heard, or believed, fear keeps us safe, and it's very vital that we experience fear. We all experience this natural and biological condition, fear, and even though it can have its negative consequences, it can also be positive and healthy because it's a complex human emotion.